Holy moly, what a match. I would be saying it could be one of the best matches of the year if FTR hadn't already done that last Friday. FTR versus the Young Bucks, Part 2, was an all-time great TV wrestling match. One of the best matches AEW has done on Dynamite, in my opinion. I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen DAD. And before we get into our AEW Dynamite review, let's have a word from our sponsors. Geology.
Geology's back on the WrestleTalk Podcast, everyone, and they are looking to revolutionize the way that you look after your skin care. It's men's skincare reinvented. Look at this brilliant set that you get delivered. But you might think, that set looks like it has been specifically curated for a singular person.
It looks like for a 36-year-old white Caucasian male.
And you would be exactly right, because I took a 30-second quiz on Geology's website, and they handpicked this set for me because it suits my needs. And you could do that by clicking the link in the video description down below, or the one that's being posted by our wonderful moderating team. Take your own quiz, and, I mean, that seems like a really good offer anyway, right?
Too good.
Almost too. Well, what if I could say to you, there's money off it as well?
Oh my god, it's a no-brainer.
What if I was to tell you there was 10% off?
Well, I'd be more than happy with that.
What if I was to tell you there was 20?
I'd say you're laughing.
30?
You couldn't afford that.
40?
No, more than 40!
50% off your 30-day trial. Click the link in the video description down below. I am getting a message which makes me think something has gone wrong on the show. Ollie's mic is off. What has Adam done?
Oh, hold on. Try now.
Ba ba ba. Looks like I'm back.
There we go. Adam turned a fader down and didn't turn it back up.
Well, that's
Really? I say Adam, I should have checked.
Well, that's gonna be a bad podcast intro and outro that we'd already recorded that.
Oh well.
Yes, please go check out Geology. They are fantastic. I use them every day and night. That's why my skin looks so beautiful.
And I need it now because I'm starting to sweat because I've made a mistake on the podcast. And it's going to make myself look ridiculous. This, on the other hand, will make me look fabulous.
FTR versus the Young Bucks was the main event of this episode of Dynamite, which I really appreciated because a lot of the time
AEW.
I hate AEW. I think Tony Khan's got too much money. They keep bringing people in as the people lost in the show. Let's get rid of this narrative because I gave this 91%, I think.
That's not the highest one of the year, is it?
No, highest one of the year was 97. That was
MJF.
the match, yeah. And then there was a 95%, which I think, I can't remember which one it was. But this is the third best episode of Dynamite of 2022 for me. What I was saying just then is that AEW have had a tendency to put their biggest thing first. And I'm not against that. I think that's sometimes a really smart strategy. But then it does create a really lopsided show where the final hour just doesn't have the same impact. And we always say it's how you leave them. You could save a pretty rubbish 3-hour pay-per-view if you have a killer final half hour and angle. And that's what I think TV should be. That's how you create the momentum. That's how you make people tune in next week. So this was a really well-balanced show for me because I thought they had really big stuff throughout and they ended on the biggest thing. FTR versus Young Bucks. 15 minutes of just pure tag team wrestling excellence.
Yeah, this was a great match. And they had quite a high bar that was set because the first match that they had 18 months ago was the last time these two stepped in the ring together, which I think it really shows the I actually think it says a lot about Tony Khan, who has got sort of like I'm quite happy to have this match once and then I will pull back on it and not do it again and oversaturate it and make it feel unspecial again. 18 months between these two having matches, two of the best teams in the company.
In the world.
And yeah, and I think that is a incredible achievement. But that first match they had would have been the best match of the year had Kenny Omega and Hangman Page not had that match with the Young Bucks just a couple of months earlier. So there was a lofty bar that they had to vault over. And I don't think they topped the match they did at the pay-per-view. Was it All Out? I think they might have done it. I can't remember which show it was.
I can't remember either.
Might have been Full Gear, whichever one it was. I don't think they topped that match, but this match was, it was incredible. Like, it was so great. Also, there was slightly different because this time FTR were the baby faces, the Young Bucks were the heels. Wasn't for the AEW champions this time. It was for the Ring of Honor and AAA tag team champions. Did you mark out when you saw Bobby Cruise in the ring?
What? I didn't even pick up on that.
Bobby Cruise did the ring introductions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Ring of Honor's Bobby Cruise.
That's my first note here.
I did not even pick up on that.
I've written in all caps. Oh my God, it's Bobby Cruise.
Oh, I was too busy being salty. I think I was writing in my notes, why haven't they got a recap package of what happened at Supercard of Honor? They did a replay earlier on in the night for Samoa Joe's Ring of Honor debut ahead of his AEW debut. I was like, why aren't we getting the recap of what happened on Friday? I get that the Briscoes are in there, maybe, but you can cut around that and just showcase FTR and the Bucks.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with you on that one.
But yeah, nitpick, tiny nitpick.
Because they then just had this insanely great match. Really cool spots towards the end of this as well. I loved the stereo sharpshooter spot that they had on this. The Young Bucks hitting Big Rig, I proper popped for. There was just the BTE trigger with Cash's leg falling onto the ropes.
Oh, that was a hell of a near fall. There were so many genuine near falls that I fully bought into because it's for the Ring of Honor and AAA tag titles. You're like, yeah, I could see them changing hands. And it is like such a momentous match with 18 months holding off since the last one. But all those spots that you were just talking about and a bunch more were all Cash Wheeler.
Yeah, it was. Like we had a conversation about this when we watched Supercard of Honor. That I felt like that was Dax's match. Like Dax was the super baby face of that match. And Cash, not to say anything away from Cash Wheeler. Cash Wheeler like more than pulled his socks up through that match. But it felt like this is Dax's story to be told. This match, it was almost the opposite way around. This was Cash's story.
I wonder if that was a conscious decision through them.
I mean, it's FTR. You'd imagine it probably was.
Because the Briscoes match last Friday, which probably was a little bit better than this match, but the fact that we're even comparing them shows how good this main event was. Yeah, it was Dax and Mark Briscoe, wasn't it? Or was it Jay?
Jay Briscoe.
Jay Briscoe, sorry. Like, that was the real violent heart of that action. But here, it was all about Cash as a babyface in peril.
Which is nice, because it was Cash that cost them the match in the first match.
Because he did the 450?
Because he did the Springboard 450. He went against their playbook. So actually, for Cash to be that character here is really, really poetic.
I love that. Yeah, Cash here, it's like when someone has wrestled under a lucha mask or they're a mute character.
Which, funny enough, FTR did do
last year. For like all their career, and they either take off their mask and they're really handsome, say Andrade or Alberto Del Rio, or they've not said anything their entire career, El Generico. Oh yeah, Sami Zayn. They're different people, sorry. But just for the sake of argument, Sami Zayn, incredible promo. Cash Wheeler, and to an extent Dax, have wrestled heel as long as I've known them.
Mm-hmm.
When did they get so good at being baby faces?
Because they've just been watching Bret Hart tapes. I think that's all it is, basically. It's just Dax and CM Punk just watching Bret Hart tapes.
Yeah,
like, why was Bret the best wrestler in the world? Well, and then basically just comparing notes.
Why does everybody else suck? All these kids these days. Yeah, I was overwhelmed with how fantastic FTR as faces now.
Oh yeah, the spot for me was the BTE trigger. So the Bucks hit Big Rig, which was an amazing near fall, and then with an even better near fall off of that, because there was a bit of ref distraction, and Nick Jackson hit Cash Wheeler with the belt. Matt Jackson gets the roll up, hooks the tights, and Cash Wheeler still kicks out, and the crowd really bought that as the finish. So when Matt and Nick then got in there together and hit BTE trigger, and they proper milked hitting it. And they hit it, and he collapsed to the floor. And Matt rolls him up. And Cash Wheeler is out. He is done. Dax is nowhere to be seen. and it's 1, 2, and Cash's foot just falls onto the rope, and the ref counts 3.
Yeah.
And the Young Bucks music plays. The crowd go, oh my God. And the crowd bought it because they'd done the 2 near falls that had come previously.
Yeah.
This was like, it's the rule of 3. So the crowd bought this as the finish. And then the referee realized the mistake that he'd made the match continue. And then the Bucks were just annoyed and frustrated. So they then went for the Meltzer driver. And as Nick Jackson did his springboard little flip-de-doo, and Dex catches him in a powerbomb and does his little springboard powerbomb thing. It was just awesome. And then they hit their own big rig and then grabbed Matt.
Oh, it was before then. It was BTE right. Trigger, then this, then big rig.
Do apologize. Yeah, so they get that. And yes, they grab Matt and they hit the BTE Trigger and kiss him on the face as well, like they would do to Adam Cole.
It's like FTR doing that spot, like kissing him either side, and it worked and it was awesome. It is like, it's beer money as baby faces, but even better. I love this. I feel like FTR have so much momentum now. They do feel like the best tag team in the world. Of course, they're nowhere near the AEW tag titles right now.
Well, they are the ranked number 1 team.
Well, I think while we're going with this, just to talk about what else happened in this episode, Jurassic Express challenged Red Dragon. They're going to have a tag title match next Wednesday. I think Red Dragon are going to win the tag team titles because that same Saturday, it's Adam Cole fighting Hangman Page. Friday, Hangman Page, Adam Cole for the AEW World title. You tell that story of Undisputed Era. Are they going to get all the belts? But then, off the back of that, Red Dragon versus FTR. That's a feud that's been bubbling away for a few months now.
I mean, I would love to see babyface FTR versus babyface Jurassic Express because I think that would be a hell of a fun match. However, babyface FTR versus Redragon with their red name bar, like I think it might be that is my preferred option.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a story to be told there with Christian Cage, who was a bit frustrated on today's show.
Yeah. So I mean, not a 5-star for me, but probably 4 3/4 again.
Well, that was the conversation that we had before we came in, wasn't it? It was just like, was this better than the Briscoes match? And for me, I don't think it was, because I think the Briscoes match is a legit match of the year contender. Not to say that this isn't. I think this will probably be in some people's conversation, but for me, I think maybe more people will see this match than they will the Briscoes match. So this So this will probably end up getting like more votes when we come to do our end of year poll. But for me, I think the Briscoes match at Supercard of Honor was better than that. But that was also on pay-per-view. That was also a much longer match, a very different style of match as well. Man, FCR were taped up to the nines.
Yeah, right. They had all the back stuff for Dax, and I think Cash had his shoulder. I liked that the story when it was Matt versus Dax in the ring because both guys have bad lower backs.
Matt is still selling that bad lower back that he got 5 years ago. Yeah. Take that, Cornet, is basically what he says every time he sells it.
Yeah. I can't see a... Oh, no, here it is. Sorry. Ultra Chats doc. Or Omega Chats doc, because it is the Dynamite review. So let's see what you guys thought. WrestleTalk.com/support. Getting your Omega Chats there. We'll read out every single one of them over $5. Jacob Smith writes, "Sweet Christmas! Why manifest trios titles in the face of such incredible tag team wrestling? Cannot believe how well FTR work as faces without really changing characters too much. Also, love the importance of an ROH champion post Supercard." Yeah, it's just, they just don't cheat. Yeah. I think that's the only thing they've changed. And a bit more babyface fire.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Dax's hot tag. Hot dang. It was an incredible hot tag. So we've done our WrestleTalk magazine awards for the month. And when we have our Wrestler of the Month, I gave it to FTR. And I wrote in there, like, I feel like this is more Dax than it is anything else, but I've completely fallen in love with FTR all over again. And if you'd have said to me a year ago, there'll be an amazing babyface tag team, I would have said to you, Never turn them babyface. They're far too good as heels. And that is why I will never run a wrestling promotion, because I'll just be bad at it. My GM mode.
Yeah, see, look at my GM.
Look at my GM mode. That is showing the world plain to see why I would be bad at running a wrestling show.
When FTR came out here, Cash is like smiling to the crowd. I just went, ugh. I'll get used to it, but it's weird. Like, and Dax like picked up a load of the ROH streamers, and at one point I was just so used to them being heels. I figured he was blowing his nose on them, but I think he was, paying respect.
Gonna wipe his bum on them afterwards.
ROH indie marks. Mark Mayhew. Hey, Luke T and Ollie Ray. Oh, that's good. To me, FTR have always been faces. They stood up to the Young Bucks when they were attacking crew members, then Inner Circle, who were AEW's biggest heels. Even helped break up the toxic team of Page Omega, which freed Hangman. Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. Can I ask why you guys don't watch the Road 2 episodes on YouTube? They're great to hype up the episode of Dynamite and usually have great promos. Also, I know why Ollie hates Hangman. It's ever since the Wangman graphic.
I would have thought that would have made you actually love him more.
Oh, yeah. No, it's ever since he became champion. I don't hate him. I just thought those first few months were non-optimal.
No, and you have said in the office you think he's a terrible champion. He's not over. He's not a draw.
Say that. The reason we don't watch the Road 2 episodes is because, me personally, I probably watch about 10 hours of wrestling a week, and that's sort of my limit.
Yeah, there's sometimes when you're doing this as a job, we talk about it day in, day out. We do news episodes, and podcast episodes. It's talked about in the office as well. I think sometimes I get a bit burned out on it. It's busman's holiday, as it's a common expression here in the UK. So when I go out of work, I want to watch something other than.
Still love it. Just there's only so much wrestling a mind can take. Painted Viper. I know MJF is a heel.
Can I do this one from 10 Rosa because it's on topic?
Oh, is that come through? Sorry.
FTR versus the Young Bucks, and this whole show kind of made me forget about Mania and all that madness. I think the road to Double or Nothing is going to be big and fun. This was an insane show and a beautiful show to follow up the weekend from everyone else.
Painted Viper. I know MJF is a heel, so he will obviously cut heel promos. However, I thought the Purple Heart promo on Shawn Dean was more tasteless than anything.
MJF has this way of... Every time he does cut a heel promo, he's managed to annoy or offend someone. Because remember, like all the methany stuff we did during the Pillman feud, we got messages baby like he's crossing a line there, and now we found a new line that he's crossed for Painted Viper.
Yeah, I think it's if you take offense to that, you'll have to take offense to. Well, no, you can take offense. Everyone can take offense, but is that someone going too far as a character? I think those are two different things. And if you think he's gone too far as a character there, then all the things that you probably enjoyed about him going too far for someone else, he would have to stop doing as well. So it's part and parcel of being a very, offensive heel. Well, this kind of heel, yeah.
Like he is an out-and-out heel. There aren't a lot of them in wrestling these days. But, I thought it was a killer line. No pun intended.
Dan Torkel. I became a fan because of the Bulldogs and Hearts and love tag wrestling. It's one of the many reasons I continue to watch and support AEW as a fan. That said, the Hardys look worse each week. Maybe we do the Bucks match at Double or Nothing and phase them into a Sting-like role.
This wasn't my favourite Hardys match I've ever seen.
No, we'll get onto that. It was terrible. I have no idea how that idea made it to air.
Yeah. Really
bad. And finally for now, Mr. Gajilli. Hey guys, just wanted to say I hope Julia Hart asked Alex. Oh my god, Mr. Gajilli.
When Julia Hart hit that sparkle splash, I was like, I bet your Chris messaged in about that.
Asked Alexa if she can do that awful version of Twisted Bliss last night. So that look, character, moveset, gear, but no, she's not copying Alexa at all because AEW won't write. Even Alexa has spotted it now. Jam that jam. Yeah, it was a lot more overt yesterday.
I don't think they're the same character.
No, I don't think they're the same character either.
I don't think there's even remote similarities between them.
No, yeah. But there was obviously, she hit Bliss's move.
Yeah, she did the sparkle splash.
But
and landed right on her knees. I was like, that was the note that I made on that. I was like, I hope you never do that move again.
Yeah, or try and take any suplexes. She wasn't very good, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe it's paying tribute. maybe it's an honor for Bliss. And before we get into the rest of our Dynamite play-by-play, get your face sorted.
Get your face sorted out, you ugly marks. With Geology, they're reinventing your men's skincare routine. Take the 30-second quiz by using the link in the video description down below, or the one being posted by our wonderful moderating team, and they will pick out a skincare routine for you and ship it to your front door. And if you use our link, taking the quiz and get your 30-day trial, you will get 50% off using our link in the video description down below. Thank you to Geology for sponsoring this episode of the WrestleTalk Podcast.
We use this every day and night. It's got a morning and nighttime routine as part of the skincare. Right, so this episode of Dynamite opened like quite overtly from the commentary team as a pay-per-view level card. And you've got to look at this. And I don't know if Tony's said this somewhere. I think he wanted to do better shows than WWE. Like Super Card of Honor and this episode of Dynamite bookends all of WWE's WrestleMania programming. And he went out of his way to do a load of big things.
But I think this is what Dynamite do every week.
They specifically said it's a pay-per-view level card.
But they have said that on other weeks as well. They've opened the show being like, have you seen the card that's like tonight? Like you and I have done this podcast being like, this is a stacked card of matches tonight.
But I don't feel like the commentary team usually put it over as much.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel like this was a conscious effort to be like, no, we are the best wrestling company, which is great.
Yeah, I mean,
that's competition.
100%. I think you should always strive to be the best and say that you are the very best, like no one ever was. I didn't get that impression, though. I just felt like this was, for me, this is, I think, where you and I slightly differ on Dynamite sometimes. For me, this was as good as every other week of Dynamite has been recently, because this was just another terrific 2 hours of wrestling.
Oh, yeah, it's always a terrific 2 hours of wrestling. But sometimes, you know, you don't get Samoa Joe debuting with storylines and that main event.
Yeah, you get other characters debuting, like which happens every other week.
Yeah, with no storylines, and they get lost in the shuffle. Okay, but this first match was Christian versus Adam Cole, a match that somehow they haven't done yet, despite them feuding since like September. It was really professional. Like by the end of the match, the crowd weren't super hot throughout it, but like loud. I mean, it was kind of like. It was that sort of chess piece kind of match.
I suppose the face of pull there is because like the ovations that both these men got when they came out were like monstrous pops.
And by the end, the entire arena was on their feet applauding, and then the finish came like right after. But yeah, it was one of those lean forward, observe matches. Really, really, really good.
And we got Cole again dropping the boom. But he didn't have the knee pad down, and he did it in the wrong direction, so Cage kicked out, and Excalibur had to trip over himself so he could explain the storyline. Guys, the reason why it didn't work is because...
Yeah, it was really good stuff. Obviously, Cole won in the end, and then Red Dragon ran right down, brawled with Christian, Jurassic Express, saved Christian, they brawled off, and then Hangman Page came down. It's a bit, you know, generic of just the way to orchestrate this segment, but when Hangman was in the ring, he was on fire, and he challenges Cole to a Texas death match next week live on Rampage, and he said, killer line, get your affairs in order, as in I am gonna kill you. Such
a good line. Like taking what he did in the Texas death match from Lance Archer to be like, because you know Cole has been talking up this big game. It's like, okay, do you want to do this? You can step into my arena and we'll do this my way. I thought this was an awesome promo. I thought it looked rad. The ovation that he got when his music hit and he came out as well was so great. And the crowd were massively, massively into him as champion. I absolutely loved all of this. I thought it was terrific. And actually, like, props to Cage and Cole as well, because like you said, that because they haven't done this as a singles match since both men have come into the company, despite the fact that they were feuding last year, this had like a real big fight feel to it. Like both of them just sort of stood there, just soaking in the crowd atmosphere around them.
It felt like right at the start of Christian's run, where, you know, the Christian Kenny Omega match, not as big as that, but it had that same vibe. Whereas I guess since then, Christian has almost been not a background player, but a supplementary player to Jurassic Express.
Well, I think you could say it's been a background player. You know, he had matches in December, then didn't have a match till March.
AEW have obviously seen the declining ratings for Rampage, which, let's be honest, it has been skippable. I love Keith Lee, I love Swerve, I love Team Taz, but the idea was for Rampage to be a show alongside Dynamite, but it definitely feels like the B show.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stories are kind of mostly contained on Rampage. We even say now, oh, that feels like a Rampage storyline, or that feels like a Rampage wrestler. And maybe the quite bad ratings now has shocked them into doing this, because a live Rampage was always going to be the way, because they've got the Battle of the Belts the next night. But Hangman Page versus Adam Cole live in that match, and this Friday we've got both Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley wrestling on Rampage.
That for me is more the indicator. Like I think this match would have been on the live Rampage, regardless of what the ratings are. It's in Texas, and live Rampage, they try and do something really big for that show. Week after that will probably be back to what Rampage usually is. Like Rampage for me, the ratings, but the ratings are exactly what TNT want. So it's not like it's not tanking, it's not doing terrible. They want it to be 500,000 viewers, and they get 500,000 viewers every single week.
They get like 420.
They get more. They get off. You can tell when they don't get over 420 because WWE leak the numbers out.
They've stopped doing that for.
No, they only stop doing it if it's over 500,000. They don't leak the numbers. If it's under 400,000, if the Fast Nationals are under 400,000, then they do leak the numbers out. If they're over 500, then they don't. Because if they're over 500, TNT are getting what they're after. But oftentimes those Fast Nationals are wrong, and it still does over the 500,000 views. But I think it's only a rare couple of weeks where it's done under the 500 mark.
Can we check it? Because I was under the loose impression that it has, but they have been moved around a lot. Yeah, the last 2 months.
Some of the, they were on at 11 o'clock or so. They did very bad numbers.
Later on, we had a promo with Regal, the Blackpool Combat Club, backstage, and William Regal is like, "Oh, I'm excited because my boys get to go on Rampage," and it was like, "Oh, they're pushing Rampage."
It was 4, 5, 6 last week, and that was up from the previous week, which was the record low one, but that was the one that was not in the normal time slots.
Yeah. But last week's was normal time slot.
Yeah. Over the last 10 weeks, Rampage has averaged 512,000 viewers. So over the last 10 weeks, it has averaged out to be what TNT are after.
Yeah. I would call it disappointing.
For me, we've had this conversation before. The disappointing thing about Rampage for me isn't its ratings. It's the fact that it has not felt like as big of a show as Dynamite is. Like Dynamite does feel like the show that you have to watch, and Rampage is a fun extra hour to watch on a Saturday morning. And I love watching on a Saturday morning. I've said it many times before. It's my favorite show of the week to watch. I don't have to take notes. It's only an hour, and I get 4 really good matches. So it's a huge thumbs up from me. Like I love Rampage every single week. But if I don't see an episode, I'm likely not to have missed anything massive when I come around to watching Dynamite the following week.
I think they're interlinked. I think they're the same thing. I think the ratings and does it feel like a must-watch show, that's the same issue there. I love Rampage, I love Dynamite, but even if I'm not working, I will still watch Dynamite. If I miss a Rampage, I don't go back and watch it. However, obviously I watched last week because of Keith Lee and Hobbs.
That's it. There's a match. If there's a match that I really want to check out, like I think there was a couple of weeks ago when it was Strickland versus Tony Nix. Or actually it was the Strickland
his debut match.
And Strickland versus Ricky Starks. Like those are the weeks where I'm like, actually I really do want to see that match. Maybe I don't want to see everything on the show, but I do want to see those matches.
But the next 2 weeks of Rampage, I'm like, that is must-see viewing, particularly next week's.
Yeah, and I have seen a picture of Wheeler Yuta after the Jon Moxley match.
I know. Well, we will, spoilers. I've heard them too. So yes, cannot wait for Friday, or in our case, very early Saturday morning.
We
got a recap of Supercard of Honor and Joe's debut there, / return, which was great use of telling people what has happened on things outside of AEW.
So thrilled to see this.
I was too.
Because I would say that if you didn't have this, the promo that came afterwards, actually, I mean, Samoa Joe coming out, I'd be like, what the hell? What's Samoa Joe doing in the Impact Zone?
If you've not got Twitter or watched that show, yeah. But it was Samoa Joe versus Max Caster in a qualifying match for the Owen Hart tournament.
Yeah, all the Owen Hart Cup matches we've had thus far have all been qualifying
qualifiers. And Max Caster, dear God, like what a rap. And every time he said it, I got more scared for him.
Because Samoa Joe's maybe like, okay.
This is TNA Joe, wasn't it?
That's what I said to you. That's what I said to you on Saturday when we reviewed this show. This is a return to TNA 2005 Samoa Joe.
I just thought he couldn't do it anymore, though. Not disrespectfully, just like, no, he was,
that was nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah, like doing the senton dives and the really explosive, quick movements. And then, watching him in NXT, how he just became a lot more slow, methodical. You're like, okay, he can't do that stuff anymore. That makes sense. But now I'm thinking, oh no, did WWE tell him to stop wrestling so cool?
Stop being Samoa Joe.
Because this was like, step up in Seguri in the corner. It was a tope outside. Granted, kind of like a sack of spuds tope.
Mick Foley doing it at WrestleMania 2000.
And then a muscle buster.
Well, this was... You remember when you and I, we went through that period of time when we saw loads of Jushin Thunder Liger matches? Like, it was 2018 or whatever it was.
Live, yeah.
And we saw a lot of them live. And it was just, every match was Liger going out and playing the hits. And it was just like, it's Liger, surfboard stretch. And it was just basically like Liger just like, here's my entrance, here are all the moves you'd like me to see, and then I win, and then I wave, and we all go like, respectful applause.
Yeah.
Respectful applause because we love to watch Liger wrestle. That's what this reminded me of. I wrote my notes here. This is Samoa Joe just playing the hits. It's all the hits I want to see him play, and then he won.
But it didn't feel like a phoning in or a nostalgia. It felt like this is Joe means business. And when he started no-selling Max Caster's chops, I really I am so happy because I was apprehensive about this. Love Joe. He's wrestled once in 2 years. He's had wellness policy violations. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
No, I forgot too. Loads of injuries.
But that's what Max Caster was talking about, called him injury prone. You're just the X division, which I thought was a lovely line. But the killer line at the end was that, like, I'm glad to see Tony gave you a chance. When we beat you in the ratings, you were their champ. So, it works better if you're an American and you're actually good at rapping. Sadly, the timelines don't quite match up. Because Joe wasn't champion ever when they were beating them in the ratings. And
Stop it.
He was on the main roster at that point.
When he came back down?
They went to Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't let truth get in the way of a good rap.
I watch WWE.
So Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt then appear on the screen.
I love them as an act. Okay, so you got Samoa Joe in the ring, and he's been kind of promo by Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt. This is the TNA X division in 2007.
And they say that, or Jay said, hey, I tried to ring you for 4 months to figure out what to do. My mentor didn't pick up the phone. But if a billionaire comes calling, you obviously answer the phone to him. You are the Samoan gold digger. But don't worry, we'll have a present fitting for a mentor next week. So not only was this a great debut, like AEW always have solid debuts for people, like when Keith Lee turns up.
If you're a man.
If you're a man. But then it's about the follow-up. For me, Keith Lee debuted, great match, and then we didn't really get a proper storyline for a while. This is, I'm Samoa Joe, I'm here, I'm immediately in the Owen Hart tournament, the first qualified, and I've got this feud with Jay Lethal.
And that is what we were saying about Toni Storm last week.
100%.
Because I love Toni Storm, and I thought her debut last week was awesome. But there's no follow-up to Toni Storm's awesome debut last week. She got a backstage segment, basically, teasing she's going to meet Jamie Hayter in the tournament. That's grand, and I love that. But this was like, here is Samoa Joe, and here is a storyline for him. Here are the Hardy Boys, and the Hardy Boys have got a storyline. Here is, and actually I would say, here's Keith Lee, and Keith Lee has got this big pay-per-view match, and then he's got a storyline after that. And lady debuts tend not to get that same treatment.
Yeah, I agree. We got the Blackpool Combat Club promo, which we've already covered. Shawn Spears took on the captain, Shawn Dean, like one of the few people to have a win on MJF, Shawn Dean. And MJF joined commentary. This was all a way to have Wardlow do his invasion spot again. He destroyed a load of security guards, eventually overwhelmed him so he couldn't get to Max. But in all the distraction, Shawn Spears lost. And Max is like, "Arr!" So yeah, last week, FTR still won. But this week, the Pinnacle took an L. So that angered MJF enough to, first of all, challenge Shawn Dean to a match next week and hope that Wardlow turns up.
It was a nice escalation of the story because this was last week, he got to a certain part of the arena and the security stopped him. This week, he got further than that and then the security stopped him and Shawn Spears took the loss. So it's just a nice little... Yeah. It's the same angle we did last week, but it's the next step of that angle.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Wardlow, this is just the whole crowd are chanting Wardlow when he's not even there. So this is working something fierce. We got the Best Friends promo backstage, the sort of other half of the Blackpool Combat Club stuff, because Moxley is facing Yuta and Danielson is facing Trent. Yes. And it was, again, the Chucky T wants Yuta to stay with them, and Trent's like, you're a prick.
Yeah, well, no, it's like when Willie Yuta was with them, I was like, why are you still with them, though? Yeah. Like, you've walked away from them a couple of times now. I'd stop hanging out with them backstage. But, you know, I think Willie Yuta's a really captivating screen presence. I love Trent. And like, and it's made me feel so sorry for Chucky T, which is, you know, that's what you want from this storyline as well, is to feel bad for Chuck. So all of this is working for me.
We get footage of LAX, well, they're not LAX, but you know, Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz beating up the Jericho Appreciation Society backstage earlier in the day, where Kingston threw a monitor at them.
Did you see it? The monitor was behind MJF in his promo later on as well. He's like, what happened to that monitor?
Aren't you going to fix that? Yeah, that is the level of attention to detail that is really satisfying.
He threw a TV at him.
Yeah, so they just... JAS escaped through the double doors, and as the double doors were closing, Kingston yeets this monitor at them.
So, two moments I loved about this. A, Kingston threw a TV at them. It was a big TV as well. It was a big, like, 50-inch TV thing. The second bit was when they chased them out and Jake Hager's got their getaway car. So the JAS will bundle in this car and it drives off. Santana and Eddie Kingston run out and they're like, okay, they got away. Ortiz still running. It's a car and it is driving away at breakneck speed. Ortiz, well, I'm not stopping. I'll catch up with them.
Here's another way Ortiz was the best thing this week, because then they all come down to the ring and Kingston and Santana are fired up and they're doing their promo. Like, next week, we challenge you to a 6-man. Doesn't matter if you agree or not. We're going to fight you anyway. They kept on saying, we're going to attack you on site. I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know if they meant, like, here is a site, an area. But apparently it's looking like it's on site.
Yeah, so Kingston was saying in the promos, like, for those that may not know, that means that no matter where you are, like, even if you're with your family, we're going to get you. Like, we are just going to beat you up regardless of where you are. You have made a mistake here.
Eddie Kingston kept bringing up people's kids. It's like, oh, no, there's no honor here. If your kids are there, I'm still going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really like this. This is very morally complex.
Are they the baddies?
But it just shows, like, how, you know, there are rules, but sometimes the rules don't apply. This is a very much babyface act.
You tell Eddie Kingston the rules apply to him.
But all the while, Santana and Kingston are pacing around. Ortiz is just in the middle, standing still, and he looks so cool.
I'm so glad to see these three together.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week, me and Pete, that is, about, you know, they were talking about the numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pete was like, who do you think the other numbers could be? And I said,
don't say it.
What do you think I'm going to say?
Homicide and Hernandez.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, what if it's Homicide? Because that would really make sense. They're like, and Hernandez.
Well, Homicide makes a lot of sense.
Really does, right? I mean, Hernandez makes way less sense, only because of outside of the LAX thing, because he's Hernandez.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, if it was, and clearly Tony Khan loves TNA from 2007, so
Well, he's bought Ring of Honor now. He's got a new thing to fetishize. But eventually it will be like, oh, what else can I buy? WrestleX Society.
Wrestling Society, yeah.
Whatever it was called. We got a recap of Hook, what he's been doing on Rampage.
With Danhausen.
Hook is a Rampage talent.
Yeah, he does feel like a Rampage guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's never wrestled on any other show.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill comes out. She is so good. She has star presence. I think all those concerns we had about, the first TBS champion, is that a good idea? Yeah. Just, yes, it is.
Happy to be wrong.
Yeah. The thing, this was fine, but she was then like, I just want to give a shout out to my baddies section. And it was just a row of women who were described as sort of beautiful, confident women.
Correct.
And then it showed them, and they're like, yeah. And I was like, this is lame. This is a heel thing, but it's a goofy heel thing.
It doesn't work. I don't think it works for Jade.
Yeah, they're playing it up like it's an empowering thing, but I thought it come across as a bit lousy. If it was a guy doing it, I'm just shout out to my homies and like, boo!
If Jericho had done this, you'd be like, that is a very Jericho thing to do.
Yeah.
But Jade Cargill, like the appeal of Jade Cargill is Jade Cargill and the fact that she looks like a legit superhero.
So are these baddies? They're not like, I thought, oh my god, she's just unveiled a 6-person faction, but they're not. They're just local women.
They're local, beautiful, confident women. And next week, when they go to New Orleans, there'll be a different baddie section.
So what are they doing? They're just trying to
I
understand
think
the
Marina
logistics.
Shafir's going to beat them all up.
Well, in that case, perfect.
Yeah.
I'll see how it plays out then. I hadn't thought of that. Because Jade had a great line where she said, I'm sick of all these MMA failures trying to come here. I was like, she's right.
She is right. I am sick and tired of it as well. She is someone who just she gets it.
Yeah.
And she's been doing this for such a short period of time. It is insane how quickly she's gotten it.
She is almost as good as Pat McAfee or Logan Paul.
You reckon?
Well, and just in terms of like someone who instinctively gets it.
Right.
I think. I was being facetious there. MJF, this is where he challenged Shawn Dean to a match next week. We've kind of covered it, but he did say the offensive line, which was, well, I only wrote down that he'll injure Shawn Dean more than he ever would have been in combat.
And then he'd said, and I'm going to award you a Purple Heart.
Right, yeah. I think that's a great heel line.
line.
That doesn't offend me, but it is offensive.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely an offensive line.
Which is MJF's mantra.
Yeah. Okay, all right. This was the only bad thing on the show, but it was pretty bad.
I liked that suplex spot that they did on the outside.
Yeah.
But the production cocked it up because there was a table there, and then they did the suplex, and then the table wasn't there because the camera didn't show Jeff moving it. So it just looked like the table glitched and disappeared.
I was confused by that. So this was a table match between the Butcher and the Blade versus the Hardys. The great emphasis said you can only get eliminated if it's an offensive maneuver through a table. So if someone was to move out the way and you were to crash through a table, say doing a spear, that wouldn't count.
Which what happened with the Butcher.
Which is like, I was like, okay, I appreciate that level of rules because it's not, I think I mostly disagree with it from just a psychological standpoint because you want to save the big table break spot for the finish. But kind of in the same way as how many wrestlers do you have legal in the ring for a 3-way tag? It's just a different way to tell a story. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm here for the ride. Unfortunately, they then didn't follow the rules.
Yeah, they really didn't, did it? It's like, it was a bit of a mess. Because
from the start.
From the very start of this, because when they put Jeff got eliminated first, which you'd think, well, that's weird, because surely Jeff Hardy is going to do the big spot at the end, which he did do. But Jeff got eliminated first, and because they didn't set the table up properly, they didn't set one side of the legs up, he didn't really go through the table. But they were like, well, Jeff went through the table there. He just sort of hit it and slid off of it.
He landed on it, but it didn't. He didn't go through it.
Yeah, that's it.
It snapped, but it had already fallen on the floor by then because the leg gave way. So I was like, but because they put so much emphasis on an offensive maneuver through the table, I was like, but was it through?
Yeah. I think when Tony Khan wrote this down on a piece of paper, he was like, it's Royal Rumble 2000. Like this is going to be Royal Rumble 2000 on Dynamite, and it's going to be the most amazing thing ever.
I think this is Matt Hardy pitching this.
You reckon?
I just don't see
because it's like proper nostalgia run.
Yeah, and it's like Matt is the sort of creative brain here. I don't think Tony is coming up with this match. This is not a Tony match.
Tony Khan, who loves wrestling from like the 2000s.
Yeah, but he also likes things that make sense.
Oh, I suppose, yeah, in a way. Like, I don't think... I would have thought Tony would have been signing off on this sort of thing.
Well, he did sign off on it, obviously.
Yeah, because it's on
but
TV.
I don't think it was his...
You don't think the idea...
concept.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assumption. It did not work. I don't think I want to be watching the Hart... Like, when Jeff did that massive swanton off the side of the gymnasium or whatever it was.
Awesome.
Incredible. However, I don't need to see Jeff do a very similar spot 2 weeks later because the more you do it, the less special it feels. It's, let's bring out Sting for a promo and Team Taz come out to interrupt him. Like, there's only so many times you can do that on TV. Similarly, there's only so many times you can have Andrade come down after the Hardys have won and then Sting comes out to stop him. Like, are we building to a Sting Andrade match? I'll be honest with you, love to see it. I think that'd be grand. But I am pretty much ready for these lot to all move on from each other.
Yeah, I was ready a month ago, I'd say. So Jeff was eliminated first, then Butcher was eliminated, but they stuck around and they continued to wrestle in the match.
Royal Rumble 2000.
Yeah, and the commentators said, look, it's no DQ. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, but...
You could hear how annoyed JR was.
He said it. Bowling shoe ugly.
I know. That is JR speak for... Yeah, this is not very good, folks.
And so both men were eliminated, continued to wrestle. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And like Luke said, the finishing spot was Blade on two tables, big ladder outside, Jeff swanton bomb through it. Blade goes to the table. I'm like, yeah, but Jeff was eliminated. So surely an offensive maneuver through the table from the still legal person. So Matt should have put him through. What was the point of the eliminations? What was the point of the tables? It just utterly failed in every part of the stip.
I think I was just glad to see it done.
So and on top of that, it was not a good wrestling match apart from the suplex.
Yeah, apart from that one suplex spot, I would think I was just glad to see it over with. And it is cool to still see Jeff do those sort of swanton bombs off the ladders, but also at the same time, I don't think I want to see him continually do that at his age.
No,
it's not what I want to see out of him currently.
And like you said, AFO came out after, but Sting took them out with a bat. No Darby.
Well, he got beat by Andrade, didn't
he? Christian.
I think he got eliminated from the feud.
Can more people get eliminated from the feud? It's a Jurassic Express promo backstage. And before they can even get started, Christian is like, "Arr!" and throws his water bottle against the wall and walks off.
Yeah, and then Jurassic Express is like, okay, sorry about it. We'll do our promo, and they challenge Red Dragon to a title match next week. I think it is. Is hilarious the word I'm after? I'm not going to use hilarious. They've got a show next week called Battle of the Belts, and they've announced 3 title matches for next week, and only one of them is happening on Battle of the Belts.
Probably the least intriguing one. It's Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, which I'd imagine then probably Ricky Starks versus Shane Strickland will be added to it, or Ricky Starks versus Keith Lee will be added to that for the FTW Championship, and Sammy versus Scorpio Sky for the TNT title.
Sure. Mega babyface Sammy Guevara.
We didn't cover their segment earlier because it was just for the ad break, but Sammy and Ty Conti had their little Love Actually placard things they do, and I'm liking them less and less each week.
Well, Have you heard what happened on Rampage? Not a spoiler. The crowd booed them out the building.
Did they really?
They cheered Dan Lambert.
This is what happened in the Cody feud that never actually happened in the end. And Dan Lambert made reference to this. It's like, no one likes Cody and Brandy so much. They're cheering me. And I'm Dan Lambert.
I would say I hate to say I told you all so, but I love it. I love it when I'm right. Thunder Rosa and Nyla Rose video package for Battle of the Belts. Jamie Hayter and Tony. I just had Storm there, and my mind was like, Lance Storm? Tony Storm had a non-American accent confrontation.
They did.
Oi, governor, I'm going to beat you in the Owen Hart tournament.
Crikey. I hope we do get to see each other in the tournament.
I'm not going to shake your hand, mate.
Bonza.
Wait, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Bonza. Vegemite, I'll see you there.
Julia Hart took on...
It's not offensive because they're part of the Commonwealth.
Exactly. Julia Hart took on Hikaru Shida next in the Owen Hart tournament. This was Julia Hart finally revealing that she's a heel.
Yeah. Speaking of... You know how we sometimes say, like, there's a difference between long-term storytelling and a storyline that's just taking way too long to tell? This is the second half. Just put her in House of Black already. It has been months and months and months, and it's never moving forward.
I don't think Malachi remembers.
I think he's completely forgotten. Brody King has no idea. Buddy Matthews has he has no idea who she is because it happened before he even arrived.
I can picture them at the House of Black now, and the Ring doorbell goes, and Buddy Matthews is looking at the video screen. Who's that?
Does someone want to Deliveroo? Like,
what's going on here? And Malachi's like, crap! I totally forgot.
Oh, I did that thing.
Oh,
I did it to Cody as well. Do you think he's going to show up?
Where is that guy? So yeah, Julia Hart sort of attacked Hikaru Shida before the bell and started choking her with her jacket. And the Varsity Blonde's like, sis, everything okay? I'm like, where have you been?
Where have you been? For the last 6 months, where have you been? It's weird how you're acting very weird.
Now is when you're concerned. They get, like, Julia sends them to the back, and they're like, well, that was weird.
I guess we'll see what happens next week on Dark.
Let's not talk about this for another 7 days.
We could probably get another 2 months out of this before we have to have this conversation again.
And the match wasn't very good, but I love Shida so much, and I don't get enough of Shida, so I actually really enjoyed it regardless.
Yeah, same here.
Julia Hart would not go up for any suplexes. At first, I was like, oh man, Shida is busting out these power driving up suplexes because, you know, Julia Hart would stop halfway and Shida would make sure she went over. But then Alvarez was like, no, Julia just wasn't going up for it.
I thought it was by design.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like, it was to make Shida look super duper strong. Hey, it worked because she did. I actually thought it made Julia look quite good as well. Like, I thought Julia was all right in this match, apart from that Sparkle Splash, which was all on her knees.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you're going to do it and land on your knees, you need to pack that in right now.
Yeah. Shida won. Yes. I was like, there are...
Part of you that thought that Julia Hart was going to win.
I was worried because she just debuted a new character, kind of.
Sorry, hold on, a new character?
Well, you know what I mean. This was like the first proper Dynamite version of it. And then in the back of my head, I was just like, and the tournament's named after her. Surely Julia, I know she's not related,
no.
Surely Julia Hart has got to get some way in the Hart tournament.
I was like, if they're not putting the Canadian bunny into the sort of Rowan Hart, they're probably not going to put Julia Hart in it either.
Yeah. So Shida won, and I really popped for it, more than I should, because I'm weirdly invested in her. And then Serena Deeb's behind her. She's going to hit her with the steel chair.
Speaking of storylines that have taken a long time to tell, but they just have a 2-month gap in between each story beat.
And Shida's like, I've got a kendo stick. And yeah. So hopefully they'll meet in the tournament and have an actually good match like they can do.
Yeah,
without all
like the first one.
And we've already spoken about the main event. So awesomely, we'll finish on this backstage segment. Swerve Scott is being interviewed. And he is so real life cool. They showed a picture of him at the Grammys because his mate was getting an award or something. I was like, oh, goddamn, you're cool. If WWE did that, I'd be like, this is lame.
They'd probably thought about how many likes it got on Instagram or something.
And it wouldn't just be a photo; it would be Variety or the Hollywood Reporter on the top. And Team Taz jump him in the locker room, and out of nowhere, Keith Lee runs in and tackles Powerhouse Hobbs through a wall,
which makes this the best segment on the show.
It felt like old Lance Archer throw someone into the ceiling days.
Yeah, I mean he did fall through what was effectively polystyrene. Like,
yes,
it didn't look like a real wall in the least. And
this is thicker.
I get it. And I didn't care because the big lad went through a wall. It's hardcore triple threat WrestleMania X7. Just need to go through a window. King Kong versus Godzilla, and I absolutely loved it.
It was so cool as well because you don't really see a lot of Hobbs going through this wall because Keith Lee's back is so broad and he's just standing there. And like, there's not another camera, doesn't cut to the other side. It's just Keith Lee like being awesome. Great. Great.
What a great segment.
What a great show. 91%, third best episode of the year.
And it was a big episode in the poll. 53% gave it a 5 out of 5, 30% gave it 4 out of 5, 11% thought it was a mid 3 out of 5 show.
Look at that 1 out of 5 bump. Ridiculous. Let's get on to our Omegachats. Master Popo12 says, "Hey gents, I was at the show last night. The crowd was on fire the entire night, including Rampage. You're in for a treat on Friday. Mox versus Yuta was arguably better than FTR versus Bucks.
Wow.
Oof. Round 3 should be an Iron Man match for the AEW, ROH, and AAA belts at Double or Nothing in May. Iron Man tag match. Don't think I've ever...
An Iron Man tag match? They must have done one in the 2000s, surely.
Seems like something NXT would have done in the mid-noughties, but I can't... No, mid-teens, sorry. Waltz JP. I was in the crowd last night and it was the most insane crowd I've ever been a part of. It was such a good crowd. Without spoiling anything, the main event is the loudest I've ever heard an arena. If FTR versus Bucks isn't my match of the year, then that is. Last night was amazing."
To correct you there, it's Wow, it's JP is the name.
Ah, Waltz. James Weston. "Hey lads, been watching y'all since it was just Luke and Ollie. Love you all. Thanks for the wonderful content. I was at the show last night, and as much as the Bucks FTR match was awesome, spoiler, Mox Yuta was match of the night. Yuta is amazing." There's 3 separate people there.
Bang, like back to back, saying the exact same thing. This has made me feel like this week's episode of Rampage is a unmissable one.
Probably. Gregory Nelson. "I was also at the show last night and can confirm the last 3 Omegachats." Amazing. Carl McVicker. "I bloody love AEW. I didn't even bother with Mania." Oh, you should. It was really fun.
You should.
"Do you think without the nostalgia it would be as good as you say?" No.
Sammy Tay versus Johnny Knoxville.
That's kind of nostalgia.
The film's brand new.
It's the 4th movie
of a 20-year-old franchise. But Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch was a legit match of the year contender.
You're right. One of the 14 matches.
And Logan Paul's tag match was really good. There's not nostalgia in there, although we did have a Pokemon card. So is that nostalgia?
Yes. "I'm so looking forward to Double or Nothing. I love all of your content and yourselves. Jam that jam." Zoe Sung. "Somehow AEW made me get FTR. This is black magic. So many steppies this episode. Jade is a megastar. She brought the Hooters guy." Who's the Hoot? Is Mark Sterling the Hooters guy?
The Hooters guy?
"I'm so happy for him. Baddie section, baby. Punish Julie had good acting in her match. Max, please be careful. Joe will kill you."
Joe was looking at Max Caster during that rap being like, how am I going to kill him? And then he did another line. He's like, I think I might do this as well then.
Meng. "I know we went to Disneyland last weekend and it was fun, but welcome back to the real world with consistent good wrestling. Max Caster rap was fire, but I can't get enough of the Samoan dancing machine." I forgot about that.
He just started dancing.
But it was terrifying. "Also, FTR are the best baby faces, top baby faces out." That's a good way of framing it. We went to Disneyland for the weekend and now we're back to the real stuff about WrestleMania. Zoe Sung. "I could make so many Metal Gear memes out of Hart. It's like Mox all over again."
Yeah, I mean, hard.
Patrick Kaniski. Hi guys, I was watching AEW last night and my girlfriend's little brother Caleb was watching and really liked the show. Really liked Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy. The only bad part for him is there's no live show on Thursday. Can Caleb get a jam that jam? Jam that jam, Caleb.
Jam that jam. So Jade Cargill posted up a photo of her posting with Baddie Margrath. Lover of all life and everything cool in it. I'm a baddie, Jade Cargill said so. And he posed with her, and he's called himself the Boston Baddie, and he's got a shirt that says the same thing.
Is he like he's got sort of local sports fan, mildly famous vibe.
Yeah, is he a local man for local people?
Never heard of him, but happy for him.
Yes, he sounds great.
Nate S. Did Luke get hired as AEW GM? Seems like every week we're getting a tables match or a death match or a wild tornado tag.
Oh, wait till you get to the pay-per-view episode, my friend.
I love it, but be careful you don't run out of money. Hope Willow wins. Would be great to see her in the Owen. She was impressive last Friday.
Yeah, I didn't have a very good week.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4 was not a good week for me on my GM mode.
Temruza, Samoa Joe, that's all I have to say about that. The open was insane from Christian and Cole to the tag match. Can't wait to watch Rampage. Guys, I might be in London late July, early August. A round of drinks on me if Ollie will accept a converted Australian dollar drink on me. Well, as long as it's converted.
Yeah, it will then be in Mark Sterling.
Mm-hmm. Nate S. Is off my nut an English saying? I was like, excuse me, what did Regal just say?
I didn't even think about that because I was listening to Going in Raw on the way here, and Stephen Larson kept bringing up going off his nut, and I was like, yeah. Just
and a nut is like, what's it, a head?
Yeah. And
you're off your head, you are crazy.
Yeah, but I didn't even consider for a moment that Americans might not have the first clue of what he's on about.
Well, to nut is to ejaculate.
Yeah.
The man fluid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Nate S. thought William Regal was saying he is off his jizz.
He's off his spunk.
I'm using it from now on, Nate S. says. I was off my nut during that main event.
Crikey.
I mean, that's actually a correct usage.
That actually is.
Mr. Kajili. Hi guys, I feel I need to say why I'm so hard on Julia. It's because for months I've seen AEW hardcore fans come at Alexa for stealing Bray's gimmick, but now cricket's about Julia doing it.
They're not the same gimmick though, Chris.
With Alexa especially, Blonde gets corrupted by a dark figure.
That is... Blonde gets corrupted by a dark figure. It's such a broad generalization that you could probably say that all gimmicks are the same.
You could say anyone Malachi Black goes for and corrupts over time is similar. Mr. Kajili continues, the reason why they aren't doing the Julia Hart to the House of Black is because I think the Alexa comparisons, and if she's with Buddy too, with his past relationship with Alexa, big red flags, he'll start calling Julia Alexa by accident. I hadn't thought of that. Of course, Buddy and Alexa used to be together. But no, they're obviously still doing it.
Yes. Now, if this was the same thing, Chris, if your comparison would work there if Malachi Black stopped doing the Malachi Black gimmick and Julia Hart started doing it, and then Malachi Black got released.
Yeah.
And Julia Hart became the new leader of the House of Black.
And you look
that is the only way this comparison works.
And you look at Bliss, and it's so obviously Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
Yes.
This is nothing like Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
Absolutely not.
Tails P. With the Cole Cage opening and the FTR Bucks ending, Dynamite has perfect booking according to WWE 2K 2020. Was I the only one who thought Julia Hart was turning heel tonight? Spit mist in Shida's face and become the princess of the Black Throne.
No, that would be too much advancing of the story, and I don't think that is their aim at the moment.
Trenton Brown. This is 100% me fantasy booking here, but I'd love if down the line Joe offers to take Hook under his wing. Seeing himself in the young man, with his history with Taz in TNA, you could tell the story that Joe thinks Taz is holding Hook back.
But I like Taz hyping up Hook on commentary.
Yeah, but what one interesting, like Taz and Joe, two guys who had to become commentators for a bit.
Yeah.
Plan R. I think Jade Cargill's development has been Kurt Angle-esque in how quickly she is improving at all aspects of the business. Yes, Kurt had the wrestling skills prior, but he got good fast at every aspect of the business, and Jade is on the same trajectory. I think they're two different things, because Kurt had the wrestling ability and immediately took to the character side of things. Jade is a very good athlete and has immediately taken to the character side of things, but in terms of in-ring, like, they protect her very well in those matches. She could not go and have, well, maybe she could, but I've not seen anything where she could have a Kurt Angle year one style match.
Agreed.
But there is a comparison there.
But like Kurt Angle is another level, though.
Yeah.
Like there are, I was about to say there aren't many people. I don't think there are any people that can have that sort of year that Kurt Angle had.
Look at Gable Steveson.
Well, hey, well, he may get there.
You're meant to be changing your expression. The Adnap 2 tables match. Andrade run-in. TK has booked the hardest, like Luke booking GM mode.
I appear to have got a reputation for myself.
JS Wooten. The table match is why AEW is a fun company to watch. They do goofy stuff like the tables match. It fails gloriously, but they at least tried something different. Different doesn't always work, but the effort is appreciated. DAD and Ollie's glorious hair for life. Yeah, but I could have told you it was not going to work. It was so clear it wasn't going to work.
Yeah. Do you want me to hot tag for a bit? Brett J. Rasmussen said, I just don't get it. I cheered for Cody when he was still in AEW, and now Sammy and Tay have taken Cody and Brandy's place for being booed. I love both of them, and they're both great. I don't know why they're getting booed. I'll continue to cheer Sammy and Tay.
They're too pretty.
I don't think that's the reason. They smashed up that lad's car for no reason.
Dan Lambert's car.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't like him, and they wanted to get him.
So they smashed up his car?
Yeah, but he had orchestrated an attack and Sammy to lose his title. I'd say that's grounds.
To smash up a car like it's Street Fighter?
Yeah.
I think
it's because they're too pretty.
Colostopia said, did you notice the black around Julia's eye is getting bigger? I think it has to get bigger. It's just because the story's not going anywhere. Joe has to be Regal's right-hand man.
That's beautiful. But that's not the way that faction should go, I don't think.
Derek DK. Hey guys, I didn't watch a lot of Ring of Honor. Why does Warner Media not want the Briscoes? Jam that jam.
So, like 2012, I think it was. I can't remember which Briscoe.
I don't want to say. It was one of the Briscoes.
Yeah, one of them tweeted that they didn't want their kid taught about gay people in school.
Same-sex relationships, yeah.
And if they did, that he would hurt whoever tried to teach them.
Yes.
So
they also once had a Confederate flag title.
So very, that's an awful thing to say. But apparently it was 10 years ago. He has apologized for it. He apparently behind the scenes is not that, like, he realized what he's done wrong. But yeah. It's in today, anything can sort of come up from the past and it's like, boom, no, cancelled. And you're like, if you're Warner Media, do you want to take that risk on yet another new tag team when you're like, I think we're fine?
I think we've got enough tag teams currently, yeah.
It's a shame because the Briscoes are phenomenal.
Zoe says, basically, the baddie section is when Jade goes to Twitter and asks who wants to be in the baddie section for this week's Dynamite. Oh, it's a Twitter thing. People post to her thread and she brings people to the show as her baddies. Who this guy is in the bottom right corner of the clip.
Okay.
So it's a Twitter thing that she does. Or like, that makes me think that Marina Shafir's not going to beat them up then.
Well, it still feels like you just change them with plants.
Yeah.
It still feels like a weird babyface thing. Look, Jade is making it work because she's so charismatic. I don't know. It's a bit weird though as a concept. I don't know if it'll get over properly.
Aaron James Spear. Hey, Luke and Ollie. I just want to say that, Luke, you are very handsome, sexy, and beautiful, and I'm very attracted to you. Your wife is very lucky to have you in her life. I would say the same about Ollie, but he hates AEW, so forget about that. Jam that jam. Perseus M. What are you talking about, Luke? Aren't you winning at my GM against Pete? Sure, you have no money, but you have a lot of hardcore matches. Wait, are you trying to be ECW? I had one bad week, everyone.
Are you like, hey guys, go on, do the match. The check's in the mail. I'm waiting for the deal to come through. Get full Paul Heyman.
All I'm saying is that Pete and I have now recorded the first 9 episodes of the show. We haven't done episode 10 yet, which is the second pay-per-view. The second half of this series, it's all going to start coming up Thrill House over here at some point. 10 Ruzza, after the past weekend, I'm so keen and so excited for AEW to do a stadium show, whether with or without other promotions. Rampage at a better time slot and 2 hours will make it feel bigger and better. Love you guys. I don't think it needs an extra hour.
No.
And I actually prefer Rampage to be taped after, in a way, I think I do prefer when it's taped after Dynamite.
I mean, it would be better if it was live, but it's a logistical nightmare for them.
I think when I think about like a live Rampage, what I think about the people who are paying for it, because they're only paying for like a 1 hour show. And
oh yeah, I see what you mean. What do you just put on a lot of dark matches?
I guess so, but cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Brett Guy said, I just say I'm a huge fan of you guys. I've been following the channel for years. You guys have helped me through a lot. I listen to your podcast and news videos while I'm national TV on ESPN. Cheers, boys. Keep up the hard work.
Thank you ever so much, Brett. Have you seen the size of that chat?
Whoa!
Thank you very much.
That's amazing.
That's incredibly generous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Brett.
you so much. Brian said, Luke, at least your My GM wasn't like mine, where the week of the pay-per-view, my world title feud was Cross versus Seth, and then Cross had low stamina and wanted a week off, and then my Triple H objective was to not book Seth Rollins for the week. Yeah. That game is designed to just like scrub any plan that you have. Or if you're like me, it's just like, oh, you put Alexa Bliss in 3 TLC matches in 3 weeks. She's a bit tired now. Get over it. Kids today. Derek DK. So it's also an Alexa comparison because of her top rope move that's like Twisted Bliss, and she's a cheerleader along with what was already said. Because Alexa Bliss's original gimmick, way back when, is she had a cheerleader skirt on for a bit, but she was a fairy though. She was like a pixie girl.
That was very brief. And I think, I don't think of cheerleader when I think of Alexa Bliss.
I think anyone does.
No.
Mark Mayhew, can't believe Cody has to dye his hair now that he's in WWE. Can't keep using his Alexa Bliss gimmick. Eric, do you know when Sammy is going to get his neck tattoo done?
Oh, beautiful. If he turns heel, that would be a hilarious thing to do.
And Zachary T. Robinson, just a quick ultra chat for Luke's attention. Brute Force is in the chat. Get him booked on next week's show with Ali. I heard they work pretty well together. I cannot believe I got an email. So did you see what happened here? So the way that my GM works is that Giant work with the cruiserweights. And my feud at the moment is with Keith Lee and Mustafa Ali, because Giant and the cruiserweights. But I don't want to just keep doing that match week after week to grow the rivalry. So I was like, well, I'll just have Keith Lee face someone else. So I then went to sign a free agent, and they've got like a jobber section, and it's this guy called Brute Force.
Yes.
And he's got a security t-shirt on.
Brilliant.
So I signed Brute Force for 1 week, 10 weeks I had to sign for. We've got basically the end of the series now.
Brute Force has got a great agent.
And I had Keith Lee squash him. The next week I got an email from Ali being like, I think me and Brute Force will make an amazing tag team, because they're both cruiserweights. So
That's not a bad idea.
Well, yeah, apart from the fact that Brute Force's popularity is so below everyone else's because he's a lonely chopper.
That's how you raise him up.
And I'm looking over like, do I want to bring Ali down by putting him in a tag team?
Push Brute Force.
I mean, I think he's starting to get over.
Yeah.
And lastly, Jonathan says, hey guys, loving the coverage lately, as well as my GM. Quick thought, have you guys ever considered doing a WrestleTalk.com without ads for a monthly fee? Love the site, but it's rough to try and navigate with the pop-ups and ads.
Well, we are currently, rejigging the website to make that a bit easier. And in terms of an ad-free version, it's certainly something we've considered. It's a lot more complex than you would think because it involves sign-ups, etc. But yeah, no, definitely. It's a really good idea.
And that is every Omega Chat for today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for joining us here. Probably the end of our big WrestleMania Ring of Honor week. You're off for a week now?
I'm now off for a bit of time, yes. I mean, there'll be the Team Danuke show tomorrow. Denise will be with a co-host, to be designed, because I was actually going to be on tomorrow, but I'm now going to be off. So it might be Pete, could be Tempo. We don't know quite yet. But I'd imagine there will be some chat about the Cluster F and Denise eliminating Sean Ross Sapp one of the best moments of the weekend.
Mhm.
But that'll be tomorrow here on the WrestleTalk Podcast, and then Pete and Tempest will be reviewing SmackDown and that episode of Rampage on Saturday. A huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Geology. It's men's skincare reinvented. Please do click the link in the video description down below and take their 30-second quiz to get your skincare routine picked out for you, and then get 50% off your 30-day trial. Thank you to Geology for sponsoring this episode.
Jam that jam.
Jam that jam, everyone.